Hi everyone, this is Dion Lyle with Fintech-5, your host for Fintech-5. This week we're going to go into FT Partners' recent deep dive into Africa FinTech. I really appreciate that Steve and the team at FT Partners did this because I kind of lost track of FinTech in Africa after doing this slide on M-Pesa in 2009 when I was at Citibank working on mobile money. What's interesting is I show here that 4% of the Kenyan GDP moved through this mobile payment system in 2009. I was shocked by that. That number's continued to grow. Wait till you get to the end of this slide deck and see what it is today. Well, 27 million people in Kenya are now on the M-Pesa system. But the question became, what took so long after M-Pesa in Kenya? Well, some of the drivers in Africa they're like all developing areas, they're going to leapfrog right into mobile, right? They're going to skip a lot of the interim steps that we in the West took. One of the other interesting things that I found in looking at the FT Partners report is 80% Africa mobile penetration. That's an amazing opportunity for mobile payments. The other piece is the 46 billion in remittance inflows to sub-Saharan Africa, excluding Egypt and North Africa. Really interesting. I found another chart that showed as a percentage of that money, the most expensive region to send money to is sub-Saharan Africa. Again, big opportunity. Let's look at Africa as a region, as a trade region. The UN Economic Commission for Africa noted that if all 55 African countries joined a free trade area, 2.5 trillion in GDP. That compares to the 3 trillion of California. I think that's an amazing opportunity that the African nations and the rest of us have. The free trade went into effect in May 2019. Now, one of the problems is Nigeria over here has gone back and forth on their support for this effort. But if the African nations can get together, treat their region as like an EU, a free trade region, they really have a tremendous opportunity to grow. Now, the demographics in Africa's big four, Egypt, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, with Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa being sub-Saharan. Look at the population, combined bigger than the USA. Egypt and Kenya are outgrowing everyone on this chart except for India and China, which we all know, super high growth areas. One side note, USA versus South Africa. The poverty rate and the literacy rate. South Africa is doing fantastic in comparison to the US, which was a bit of a surprise to me, if I'm honest. Kenya and Nigeria, very young median age, which is a great opportunity. Oddly, combined, they equal the US 38. EU, you'll notice, is getting older. That's a lack of an opportunity for EU and the US. The younger populations are going to grow. They're going to use more mobile. Big opportunity in Africa for that. Let's look at their fintech demographics for a minute. Internet usage is higher in South Africa than it is in the US. Wow, that really blew my mind. Nigeria, still a large mobile opportunity because although the mobile percentage is good, the smartphone percentage is still low. Great opportunity. Egypt, Kenya, and Nigeria have low card penetration rates. That makes sense, but I also don't think it's going to rise dramatically because I think they'll go straight to mobile, even a debit product or P2P, something not card-based. Nigeria's digital payments percentage, highest in Africa, and is more than China or India. Now that's partly because of M-Pesa. Speaking of M-Pesa, I mentioned earlier, the percentage of the GDP of Kenya moving over M-Pesa, it's now 50%. It's incredible. 50% of Kenya's GDP going over one system that's a decade old. Now, M-Pesa has finally expanded to other countries in Africa as well as India, and now you see 28 million customers, half of them in Kenya, millions of transactions, and just constant double-digit growth. Really exciting success story for M-Pesa. Let's look at Africa overall. Very active fintech landscape. What I find interesting is the number of companies funded in processing, acquiring, payments, online mobile, money transfer, as well as online lending and even insurtech. Great opportunity in Africa for investment. If you look here, look at the volume in 2019 year to date, 528 million. Dwarfed by Silicon Valley or New York, but still an amazing growth. Most of that is going into payments, as it usually does, and the total transactions also into payments. The net, thanks Steve and the team at FT Partners Research for doing this report. Really incredible, brought back top of mind for me that Africa is a great opportunity to invest in fintech. Thank you for listening to this week's Fintech 5. I look forward to your comments.